The SSA Priority Notice. Arriving December 26th is not junk mail. In the final days of December, millions of Americans are finding an unexpected letter in their mailbox. It looks official. It carries the Social Security Administration's name. And for many people, the first instinct is to ignore it, or worse, throw it away. That would be a serious mistake. Beginning December 26, the Social Security Administration is sending out what many are calling a priority notice to nearly 75 million people. This includes retirees, people with disabilities, SSI recipients, survivors, widows, widowers, and even some veterans. Despite rumors online, this letter is not a stimulus check. It is not advertising, and it is not optional. Inside this envelope is one of the most important financial documents Social Security recipients receive each year, your official Social Security income record for the previous year. For most people, this will be the SSA 1099. For others living abroad, it may be SSA 1042S. Why does this matter? Because this document is not just for taxes. It is used by the IRS. It is used by state agencies, and it is often required to prove income for housing assistance, food benefits, medical programs, and other forms of help. Even people who do not file taxes still need this document. Over the next parts of this series, we'll explain exactly what this notice is, why it's being sent now, what the codes inside mean, and how it could affect everything from future benefits to potential stimulus eligibility. But it starts with one simple rule. Do not ignore this letter. What the SSA 1099 really is and why everyone gets one. Once you open the SSA Priority Notice, the first thing you'll see is a form number, most commonly SSA 1099. For some recipients living outside the United States, it may be SSA 1042S instead. This document is not random, and it's not sent by accident. The SSA 1099 is the official record of every dollar the Social Security Administration paid you during the previous year. It includes retirement benefits, SSDI, survivor benefits, and any back pay you may have received. If SSA paid you even $1, this form is generated. Many people assume this form is only for taxes. That assumption causes serious problems. Yes, the IRS uses the SSA 1099 to verify income. A copy of this form is sent directly to the IRS. If the numbers on your return don't match what SSA reports, the IRS may flag your account, even if you normally don't owe taxes. But taxes are only part of the story. This document is also used as proof of income for housing assistance, SNAP food benefits, energy programs, Medicare savings programs, and prescription drug assistance. For many low-income seniors and disabled Americans, the SSA 1099 is the key document that unlocks help. That's why everyone gets one. Even SSI recipients, even people who don't file tax returns, even those who believe their benefits are non-taxable. If this form is wrong, missing, or thrown away, the consequences can follow you for the entire year. This isn't paperwork you glance at and forget. It's paperwork you verify and protect. Why you need the SSA 1099, even if you don't file taxes. One of the most common and most dangerous misconceptions about the SSA 1099 is this: if I don't file taxes, I don't need this form. That belief is wrong. Even if you don't file a tax return, the IRS still receives a copy of your SSA 1099 directly from Social Security. That means the government already has a record of what you were paid. If the numbers are incorrect and you don't catch the mistake, you could later be questioned about income you never actually received. For many seniors and disabled Americans, this becomes a serious problem. Imagine being asked to explain income from a year ago without having the document that proves what was actually paid. That's exactly what happens when people throw this form away. But taxes are only one reason this document matters. The SSA 1099 is often required when applying for housing assistance, SNAP food benefits, energy assistance, and medical savings programs. These programs don't rely on estimates or verbal explanations. They require official proof of income, and this form is the gold standard. Another critical situation involves back pay. If you received a lump sum payment in the past year, the SSA 1099 shows exactly how much was paid and when. Without it, determining tax treatment or eligibility for assistance becomes far more complicated. In short, this document protects you. It protects you from IRS confusion. It protects your access to assistance programs, and it protects your ability to prove what you actually earned. Even if you never file a tax return, you still need this form, and you need to keep it safe. Who must pay? Extra attention to the SSA priority notice. While the SSA priority notice is important for everyone who receives Social Security, there are certain groups for whom this document is absolutely critical. First are retirees living on fixed incomes. Even small reporting errors can affect taxes, housing assistance, or healthcare subsidies. For seniors with limited savings, correcting a mistake late can mean months of stress. Next are people receiving disability benefits, including SSDI recipients. Many are subject to income limits and program reviews. The SSA 1099 is often required to prove benefit history when applying for assistance or responding to eligibility checks. SSI recipients must also pay close attention, even though SSI itself is not taxable. Why? Because SSI recipients often rely on multiple assistance programs at the same time. The SSA 1099 is frequently requested as proof that Social Security income is limited or non-existent beyond SSI. Widows, widowers, and survivor benefit recipients are another high-risk group. Survivor benefits can change after remarriage, age thresholds, or household changes. Having accurate income records is essential when benefits are reviewed. Veterans who receive both VA benefits and Social Security must also be careful. Income verification is often required when benefits intersect across agencies. Finally, anyone who received large back pay, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, needs to review this notice closely. Back pay can affect taxes, benefit eligibility, and future assistance. For these groups, ignoring this notice isn't just risky, it can be costly. How the SSA priority notice connects to back pay and lump sum payments. For many Social Security recipients, the most critical detail inside the SSA priority notice isn't the monthly benefit. It's the section covering back pay and lump sum payments. Over the past year, thousands of Americans received large retroactive payments after waiting months or even years for approval. Some checks were modest, others reached $10,000, $20,000, or more. Every dollar of that money appears on the SSA 1099. This matters because back pay can change everything. First, it affects tax reporting. Even if your regular Social Security benefit is not taxable, a large lump sum payment can push your total income into a taxable range for that year. The SSA 1099 is the document the IRS uses to verify that amount, not your bank statement, not your memory. Second, back pay can temporarily affect eligibility for assistance programs. Housing aid, SNAP, Medicaid-related programs, and Medicare savings programs all look at annual income. If the back pay is misunderstood or misreported, benefits can be delayed, reduced, or denied. Third, timing matters. The SSA 1099 shows when the money was paid, not when it was earned. That distinction is crucial when working with tax professionals or caseworkers who may be unfamiliar with Social Security rules. This is why reviewing the back pay section carefully is essential. If the amount is incorrect, it must be corrected early, before tax season or benefit renewals begin. For recipients who waited years for approval, the last thing they need is a new problem caused by paperwork. The SSA priority notice is how you protect yourself from that. Why this notice is required for housing, SNAP, and medical assistance. For millions of low-income Americans, Social Security is only part of the financial picture. Housing assistance, food benefits, and medical support often make the difference between stability and crisis. And for all of these programs, one document is repeatedly required, the SSA 1099. Housing authorities use this form to verify annual income, not just monthly checks. When you apply for public housing, Section 8, or senior housing assistance, caseworkers rely on the SSA 1099 to confirm exactly how much Social Security income you received during the year. Without it, applications are delayed or denied. The same is true for SNAP food benefits. Many applicants are surprised to learn that verbal explanations aren't enough. Agencies need written proof. The SSA 1099 is often the fastest and most accepted way to show that your income falls within eligibility limits. Medical assistance programs are even stricter. Medicare savings programs, extra help for prescriptions, and some Medicaid-related benefits all require income documentation. A missing or incorrect SSA 1099 can lead to higher premiums, lost assistance, or long processing delays, especially during annual recertification periods. Here's the risk many people don't see coming. If your SSA 1099 shows a higher amount than expected due to back pay or reporting errors, and you don't address it early, agencies may assume your income is too high. Fixing that later can take months. That's why this notice isn't just for taxes. It's a gatekeeper document. Keeping it accurate, accessible, and ready protects your access to the programs that help you survive. What the codes inside the SSA priority notice really mean. When recipients finally open the SSA priority notice, many are immediately confused by what they see. Numbers, codes, boxes filled with unfamiliar terms. For some, it looks more like a tax document than a Social Security notice, and that confusion is dangerous. Inside the SSA 1099 or SSA 1042S are specific codes and line items that government agencies rely on, even if beneficiaries don't fully understand them. One of the most important sections shows total benefits paid during the year. This includes regular monthly payments and any back pay issued. If that number is wrong, it can trigger problems with the IRS or assistance programs. Another critical area shows Medicare premiums withheld. Many people don't realize this information is reported here. That means agencies can see not just what you received, but what was taken out before you ever touched the money. Some notices include special indicators tied to lump sum payments, corrected benefits, or adjustments made mid-year. These markers help agencies understand why income may look unusually high for 1 year, but only if they're interpreted correctly. There are also eligibility-related codes that don't announce themselves clearly. These codes can influence how agencies view your income status when determining eligibility for housing, food assistance, or medical support. Here's the key takeaway. You don't need to memorize every code, but you must verify the totals. If something looks unfamiliar, inconsistent, or higher than expected, that's a signal to ask questions early. Because once these numbers are accepted into government systems, correcting them later becomes much harder. The codes aren't there to confuse you. They're there to classify you, and classification determines benefits. How this SSA notice could affect future stimulus or relief payments. One of the biggest reasons the SSA priority notice is drawing so much attention is what it might affect next, future stimulus or relief payments. Right now, there is no approved stimulus law tied directly to this notice. But history shows a clear pattern. When relief programs are created, income verification is always required, and that verification almost always relies on official government records. That's where the SSA 1099 comes in. If Congress authorizes any form of economic relief, whether it's a direct payment, emergency assistance, or targeted support for seniors and disabled Americans, eligibility will likely depend on income thresholds. The SSA 1099 is one of the primary documents used to prove that income. This is especially important for people who do not file traditional tax returns. In past stimulus programs, non-filers had to rely on Social Security records to establish eligibility. Errors, missing documents, or uncorrected income figures caused many people to be delayed or skipped entirely. Another issue is classification. If your SSA 1099 incorrectly shows higher income due to back pay or reporting errors, systems may flag you as over the income limit even if your regular monthly income is low. Without correction, that classification can automatically disqualify you. The notice doesn't mean stimulus money is guaranteed, but it does mean preparation matters. Keeping this document accurate, accessible, and ready ensures that if relief becomes available, you won't be scrambling to prove eligibility after deadlines have already passed. In times of economic uncertainty, paperwork often decides who gets help and who doesn't. What to do? Immediately after receiving the SSA priority notice. Once the SSA priority notice arrives, timing matters. What you do in the first few days can determine whether this document protects you or creates problems later. The very first step is simple. Open it immediately. Do not set it aside. Do not assume it's routine paperwork. This notice contains information that affects taxes, benefits, and eligibility for assistance programs throughout the entire year. Next, check the total benefit amount carefully. Look at the number showing how much Social Security paid you during the year. This includes monthly benefits and any back pay. Ask yourself one question. Does this number make sense based on what I actually received? Then review Medicare deductions listed on the form. Many people forget that premiums are reported here. Confirm that what's shown matches what was taken out of your checks. If anything looks incorrect, even slightly, act early. Contact Social Security right away. Fixing errors before tax season and benefit recertifications begin is far easier than trying to correct them months later. After reviewing the form, store it safely. Keep it with other important documents. Not in a drawer, not loose on a table. You may need it for housing renewals, SNAP reviews, Medicare savings programs, or prescription assistance. Finally, consider downloading a digital copy through your My Social Security account as a backup. This notice is not something you read once and forget. It's a document you'll rely on again and again. Handling it correctly now prevents stress, delays, and lost benefits later. What happens if you ignore or lose the SSA priority notice? For many people, the biggest mistake isn't misunderstanding the SSA priority notice. It's ignoring it entirely. Every year, thousands of Social Security recipients throw this document away, thinking it's routine mail or something they can deal with later. That decision often comes back to haunt them. The first problem usually shows up during tax season. Because the SSA sends a copy of your SSA 1099 directly to the IRS, the government already has a record of what you were paid. If your tax filing or non-filing status doesn't align with that record, questions can follow. Without the document in hand, proving what actually happened becomes much harder. The second problem involves benefit renewals. Housing assistance, SNAP, Medicare savings programs, and prescription drug help all require periodic income verification. When agencies ask for proof and you can't produce the SSA 1099 application stall, deadlines get missed, benefits get delayed or temporarily suspended, not because you were ineligible, but because paperwork was missing. There's also the risk of unnoticed errors. If the SSA 1099 contains a mistake and you never review it, that incorrect information flows into multiple systems. Fixing those errors later can take months, sometimes longer. Replacing a lost SSA 1099 is possible, but it's rarely quick, especially during peak season when SSA offices are overwhelmed. Ignoring this notice doesn't save time. It creates problems. In a system where documentation determines eligibility, losing one of your most important records can cost far more than people expect. How to replace a missing SSA 1099 quickly and safely. If you've lost your SSA 1099 or never received it in the mail, the situation is serious, but it's fixable. The key is knowing what to do before deadlines arrive. The fastest and safest way to replace a missing SSA 1099 is through your My Social Security account. Once logged in, you can download a digital copy instantly. This version is official, accepted by the IRS, and valid for housing, SNAP, and medical assistance programs. For many people, this option eliminates weeks of waiting. If you don't have online access, you can contact Social Security directly by phone or visit a local SSA office. However, this route often involves long hold times, appointment delays, and slower processing, especially during tax season. Here's an important warning. Do not use bank statements as a substitute. Agencies and tax authorities require the official SSA 1099. A bank record does not show Medicare deductions, benefit classifications, or back pay timing, all of which matter. Timing matters more than most people realize. If you wait until February or March to replace a missing form, you may already be behind. Assistance programs often have strict deadlines. Tax correspondence from the IRS may already be in motion. That's why acting early protects you. Replacing a lost SSA 1099 isn't about convenience. It's about maintaining access to benefits, avoiding delays, and preventing problems that can follow you all year. Why this notice matters, even if you've never missed a payment. Many Social Security recipients believe this notice doesn't apply to them, especially if they've never missed a payment and everything seems to be working just fine. That sense of security can be misleading. The SSA priority notice isn't about whether your checks arrived on time. It's about how your income is recorded, classified, and shared across government systems. Even when payments are accurate, records can still contain issues that don't show up until later. For example, benefit amounts can change mid-year, Medicare premiums can be adjusted, back pay can be issued unexpectedly. All of that information is summarized in the SSA 1099, and those numbers are used long after the year ends. Here's why this matters. Many benefit reviews and assistance programs look backward. They rely on prior year income to determine eligibility. If the SSA 1099 contains an error or an unexplained spike in income, agencies may assume your financial situation is better than it actually is. This can lead to denied applications, reduced assistance, or requests for documentation you no longer have. Even people with perfect payment histories face risks when life changes. A move, a loss of a spouse, a medical event, a new application for help. In those moments, accurate records become essential, and this notice is the foundation. Think of the SSA priority notice as insurance. You hope you won't need it, but when questions arise, it's the document that proves your case. Being paid on time is good. Being properly documented is better. How this notice protects you. During reviews, audits, and appeals. For many Social Security recipients, the real value of the SSA priority notice only becomes clear when something goes wrong. A benefit review, a program audit, an appeal after benefits are reduced or denied. In these moments, documentation decides outcomes. When Social Security, a housing authority, or a medical assistance program reviews your case, they don't rely on verbal explanations. They rely on records, and the SSA 1099 is one of the most authoritative records you have. During income reviews, agencies look for consistency. If your reported income doesn't match what Social Security sent to the IRS, red flags appear. Having the SSA 1099 allows you to explain discrepancies, show back pay timing, or clarify why one year looks different from another. In appeals, this document becomes even more powerful. Whether you're appealing a SNAP reduction, a Medicare savings program denial, or a housing decision, proof matters. The SSA 1099 shows exactly what you were paid, not what someone assumes you earned. Audits are another risk many people underestimate. Even honest mistakes can trigger reviews. Without proper documentation, you may be asked to repay benefits or lose assistance temporarily while issues are resolved. Here's the truth. People with paperwork win more often. The SSA priority notice doesn't guarantee protection, but it gives you evidence, and evidence gives you leverage. Keeping this document accurate, accessible, and organized isn't about paperwork obsession. It's about defending your income and your rights in systems that depend on records, not memory. Final takeaways. Why this SSA notice is one of the most important letters you'll ever receive. By now, one thing should be clear. The SSA priority notice arriving in late December is not routine mail. It's not paperwork you glance at and forget. It's one of the most important financial documents Social Security recipients receive all year. This single notice connects to nearly everything that affects your financial life: taxes, housing assistance, food benefits, medical programs, reviews, appeals, and even potential future relief or stimulus programs. The danger isn't what's inside the envelope. The danger is ignoring it. Too many people assume that if their Social Security checks arrive on time, nothing else matters. But modern benefit systems don't work on trust or memory. They work on records, and the SSA 1099 is one of the most powerful records tied to your name. This document tells the government how much you received, when you received it, and how your income is classified. Those numbers follow you throughout the year, influencing decisions made by agencies you may never even speak to directly. Keeping this notice accurate, accessible, and protected is not about fear. It's about control. Control over your eligibility, control over your benefits, control over your future options. In an era where assistance depends on documentation, this notice is your proof, your defense, and your leverage. So open it, review it, save it. Because when income is limited and systems are complex, one piece of paper can make all the difference.